7 names, no games as I run it down the line. We got Kenny Ken, put 100 on the cheese with the streak for the cash. ESPN, Seth Curry with the shot. The prodigy. In reality, he's more like Seth, but he's all we got. Up next is Gentleman Jack, better known as Junior Blue. We told him not to do it anyway, but he did what he do. To his right is Devin, that dude, Eldad or Dirt Ass Dan. Just don't ask him a question, cause then he'll answer your question with another question, and then he'll add another question on top of that question. Damn. And I'm Red O, the Buck Wild Problem Child.
Flow Butter, aka John Cutter.
It's the league ambassadors, and we playing to win. At the 2-yard line, and make no mistake, we running it in. Pete Carroll, we see you.
Thank you for visiting 32 Kings Road, hosted by the League Ambassadors. I'm Ambassador Kenny Ken, and it is my pleasure to be here today with my brothers. This is episode 50 of our show 32 Kings Road. Watch it now. As a reminder, you can follow us everywhere on social media. Our handle is @TheLeagueAM. That is Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Also, please check out our website, theleagueam.com. Also, please subscribe to our channel, our YouTube channel, League Ambassadors. On today's show, we will continue our NFL International Series preview by discussing some Tennessee Titan history. We will also make some picks for Week 4, talk a little shit about Mr. Jason Garrett, coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
Is he though?
And on that note, Junior Blue, what you sipping on, sir?
I actually have this ice cold water here because the Raiders are not going to force me to become an alcoholic.
They gonna try real hard.
And I'm also sipping on adjustments.
Okay.
The Raiders are 0-3. In those 3 games, they've had to lead at halftime. 2 of them, they had to lead in the fourth quarter. The first half of each game, they had a 100-yard receiver. But for some reason in the second half, they try the exact same shit, while the opposing coaches make adjustments and shut that shit down. Gruden, you once were a genius. Now you need to make some adjustments at halftime.
That was stern.
That was heartfelt.
Man. Jeez.
Kev, what you sipping on, sir?
So the plan coming into tonight was I was going to drink this 100% apple cider from Aldi because it was cheap. But my cousin Chris came in town from Atlanta, and now I'm drinking this wonderful bottle of Courvoisier, which makes my house feel like I'm in the desert right now. But most importantly, tonight I want to honor the birthday boy, Mr. John Lynch, by paying some respect to an endangered species around the NFL. And as of today, the Ravens safety Eric Weddle is the last white defensive back in the NFL after Miss Chris Conti got murdered on Monday Night Football.
Did you call him Miss Chris?
Mr. Chris Conti.
Hey, either way.
It was oddly correct. You know what? It was oddly correct, because if you saw that stiff arm that he caught last night.
Jesus Lord.
He got murdered.
I'm sipping on some wine, red wine, and I'm also sipping on laughter. Yes, President Trump, the world's leaders, they were laughing at you.
Not with you.
At you. I'm also laughing at any Minnesota Vikings fan that still believes in the Super Bowl prospects of their team. And we should all be laughing at the ridiculous roughing the passer calls that are destroying the NFL game as we know it. That's what I'm sipping on. Dad, what you sipping on?
Well, I'm sipping on some Jesus juice as well. And it is Steelers week in Baltimore this week. This is the first meeting of the Ravens and Steelers. So we meet twice a year. This time it's on Sunday night. And I am so excited because we get CJ back. We probably get our first round tight end Hurst back. And that Steelers defense is so sexy. Artie Burns, we're looking at you, baby.
He's trash. He is absolutely dumpster fire trash. Yeah. Redo, what you sipping on, sir?
First, let's talk about how you and Devin over here trying to be in LeBron's barbershop over here.
Pinky's up.
Wine, y'all killing me. I'm sipping on a little Maker's Mark. So I woke up today and will start doing my thumb stretches, about to get Twitter fingers on. And the first thing I see was, oh shit, Andrea Kramer and Hannah Storm are going to be the first female announcing team to announce an NFL game this Thursday. Thinking, okay, this is dope. What's going to happen? It's about time. Mm-hmm. And then I started reading the story, and I realized they all back of the bus and shit.
Facts.
And it's basically Amazon has, I guess if you have Amazon Prime, you can watch the game through Fox. And instead of watching Joe Buck and a high as a kite Troy Aikman, you can choose
OxyContin Troy.
Right. You can choose to listen to the ladies. But that's only if you have Amazon Prime and only if you choose to listen to them, instead of the original broadcast team. So basically, they're the backup instead of broadcasting the game.
Or I think the NFL might say they're just providing some diversity. If you choose,
alternative.
Right. If you choose to watch the game via stream, Amazon Prime, then you get the illustrious voices of Hannah Storm and Andrea
Is
Kramer.
that what you would say?
Yeah, I was about to say Kenyon style. Come on, yo, we know what this is, man.
I mean, he is onto something because they do have multiple broadcast teams working at. They have the Spanish version. They have a UK, I think a couple UK versions.
So this the lady version?
Yes. No bullshit. Yes.
Oh, man.
How long until they make it to the A team?
Let's see how this goes because
I'm curious. I for one am going to listen to it. I have Amazon Prime.
I have Prime.
So I'm curious if I can make it through a quarter.
Well, wow.
Jesus.
You think it's that bad? I mean, my first thing when I heard this is as long as it's not old girl that did Monday night. What's her name?
Opening
Beth
night,
Mullins. Right? Yeah, she did opening night for the second
Right.
Monday Night Football game.
Right. The fake Doris Burke.
Dude, I can't get past her voice. It just sounds like she's a robot trying to sound like a sportscaster. So, I mean, but I think Andrea Kramer is really dope. Like, I've watched her. Like, she's a full-fledged, like, legit journalist. She's been on, Real Sports forever. She's been on damn near every platform. I'm interested to see what she has to say. But I do know that the comment section of all of the articles was lit, as it always is. I mean, it ranges from... someone said, why does let me see, I don't care who is calling the game as long as I can get away from Joe Buck. But then the other two weren't so complimentary. I hope Hannah Storm doesn't cry if a player blows out his knee. Let's hope Hannah doesn't have to break out her nearly inaudible sad voice in the event of an injury. So there's definitely a hint of sexism here.
Well, I mean,
you see how I did the Trump thing?
Right. Well, for me, right in here, it's got to be right and tight. No, for me, I mean, and this is with any broadcaster, I want you to give me some perspective, give me some insight, tell me something that I don't know or something that I missed. I'm not sure that I'm going to get that from those two. To your point, they're great journalists, but usually. And one can make an argument that it's because of the positions that they've been put in. Typically, Andrea Kramer is a sideline reporter. Hannah Storm is usually the host. Yeah. She's an anchor, a host. The questions usually that they ask though are very softball, sort of almost pandering like questions. And so I'm just curious to what
the dynamic,
the dynamic, and also the insight and the perspective that they're going to bring. Yeah, Kev.
Yeah. And I agree. I mean, I love watching Doris Burke when she covers basketball, but part of the insight she can provide is that she used to hoop and she played the most important position in basketball. So the insight she can provide from a standpoint of someone who's actually played it at a high level, I think is a difference to some people, not justifying any of the things that were said, but to some people hearing it from someone, not just a woman, but from someone who hasn't played the game and can't provide that insight that you would get from someone that has done it. But then I can also understand where they're coming from in terms of like men, whether they were players or not, previous players or not, who just get a shoe into these jobs. We saw like Jason Witten the other night, who I personally didn't think was that great.
He's not at all. He's annoying.
Right. Right, walk in and get a job like that over someone who, as a woman, who may not have played the sport, but can tell the story and provide the insight to football in a way that he can't, even though he played for God knows how long.
Right, Kev, I feel the same way. If you look at the person who's actually doing the play-by-play, like Joe Buck is in the booth because his daddy was nice. Mm-hmm. So how does he get a pass that he can get? I mean, he's done World Series and Super Bowls, and he had one of the most exciting plays ever, and he called it dry as shit. When you have someone like these two ladies who have been in the sport for over 30 years apiece, they might be, I mean, why not?
I'm interested to see their energy level. Like, I want to see, because to me, some booths can be, you just sitting, the game could be exciting, and if they're not exciting, you're not excited.
Now, give me Gus Johnson all day.
You know?
Yeah, where is Gus?
For real, he can't be on the A team at all, can he?
I guess that's a legitimate question, though, and I'll pose it to you, Red. Do you think that the NFL this is part of the NFL's sort of movement to change the narrative in terms of how the league is being perceived, or does the fact that they are on Amazon Prime sort of negate that as an option?
I actually think in this case this is something that was coming regardless. You know, this is something that was being moved towards. That's when you have you what's her name, the lady you don't like,
Beth
sound like
Mullins.
a road.
Beth
Yeah,
Mullins,
like
yeah.
This was coming, and it's just, to me, I actually think they're doing them a disservice by putting them on Amazon Prime instead of actually trying them on a regular broadcast.
And let me be fair to I think she's good. I just can't stand her voice. It just sounds like she's trying hard. Like, she can't normally sound like that if you walk up to her and try to get a number.
To me, she sounded like Doris
Damn
Burke.
it, try to get a number.
Like there was no reason to walk up to
I'm
her.
just, you know.
All the good before that was out the window.
So let's move on to our moments and Handag. We are going to continue our NFL International Series preview by talking about the Tennessee Titans. They are going to be playing the Los Angeles Chargers on October the 21st at Wembley Stadium. And we've got, let's see, what do we want to say here? Just that, the organization started in 1959 under the direction of Bud Adams. And they actually are one of the original teams in the AFL.
Yep.
And they were in the state of Texas, city of Houston. They were initially the Houston Oilers. They were there for 36 years. And then in 1996, they moved to Nashville, Tennessee, where they became the Tennessee Titans after being the Tennessee Oilers for a couple of years. And so what we wanted to sort of discuss was basically what each of us may have felt like was the seminal year or the most defining year in franchise history for the Houston Oilers / Tennessee Titans, given the fact that they have not won a Super Bowl. So I will start with you, Dad. What's your year and why?
Well, that's kind of a segue, though, Ken. 1999 is their most defining year. And the reason why I picked that year is a multitude of reasons. But let's first start with the fact that that's the year they changed from the Oilers to the Titans. That was the first year that they had the logo and the name change. That year, they had a 13-3 record, which was a great year. And they were still only the number two seed in their division, so they wound up having to play a wild card game. And in that wild card game is one of the most memorable wild card games of all time, because that is the Miracle shit, Motor City Miracle. God damn it, I couldn't think of it for nothing. And in that game, hey, it's the Jesus juice. And in that game, it was one of the most controversial and unbelievable plays that you ever would see. They're down by a score, and they run a kickoff lateral, and they basically, it's controversial as hell. I watched it like 4 times today, but they wind up scoring a touchdown, beating the Buffalo Bills of all teams.
Right.
And they move forward, and they also make it to the Super Bowl that year against the greatest show on turf. And although they were getting destroyed in the first half, they came back through riding the horse that is Eddie George.
Adjustments.
They made
Just say it with your chest, Les.
Just to bring it all the way back.
Yes, they made adjustments because they were down 16-0, I believe, and they came back. And the way that whole game ended in the second half is one of the most memorable and one of my favorite Super Bowls. As they came back to score, Eddie George dragged 3 dudes into the end zone. Yeah. The very next play, Kurt Warner hits an 80-yard bomb to Isaac Bruce, and he didn't even see. Yeah. And the only reason why that happened is because Blaine Bishop got hurt and Dorsett got burnt over the top.
He was trash.
And then rest in peace, Steve McNair had one of the greatest drives and attempts, and for it to end on a slant at the goal line and a tackle, Kevin Dyson. So that to me was a big year. This year basically made Jeff Fisher an unfireable coach for 2 different franchises. It proved that Steve McNair was a franchise quarterback because there were questions. He went on to win league MVP. Mm-hmm. And this year also encapsulates their entire franchise, I thought, because of the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows. And, I mean, because McNair missed some time and they had backups.
Did he win MVP?
He won MVP.
He won MVP that year.
2003.
Wasn't it co-MVP?
Co-MVP with Peyton.
Yeah, I just want that disrespect to be known, that's all. Because he should have been MVP.
Who, Peyton?
No.
Oh, Steve?
Yeah. Steve.
Yeah.
You gotta keep up with Omar. You know.
My bad. But I'm sorry. I think
they firing.
Yeah, that year I think was their most defining because it was the most success that they had ever had.
Well, listen, that Motor City Miracle, it's interesting too because like you said, it came against the Buffalo Bills, who just a couple of years earlier probably had the most remarkable
7 years earlier.
7 years earlier had the most remarkable game ever because then the Houston Oilers was up, what was it?
35-3.
35-3. And Frank Wright, current head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, put the Buffalo Bills on his back and
dude, I'll never forget that game. Me and my brother Juwan left. Like, oh, this game is over. Let's go outside. We came back.
I did the same thing.
And they were kicking the field goal to win. I was like, what the fuck did I just miss? I missed history.
Because
I was like, yeah, Warren Moon, let's get it. We don't need to watch this no more. Buffalo's done.
Yes. That was on ABC. Came on ABC. Junior Blue, what was your year?
1993. Warren Moon's last season as a Houston Oiler.
Okay.
They go 12-4. They lose in the divisional round of the playoffs. He had led the team to 7 straight years in the playoffs. Top 10 offense the last 7 years. New salary cap comes in 1994. So guess what? They said, we can't pay 2 quarterbacks $6.5 million combined. Wow. So they asked Cody Carlson, hey, and Warren Moon, can you restructure these contracts? Cody Carlson, who the fuck is he? Said, sure. I'll restructure it. Warren Moon was like, nah, I need my $3.5 million. So what they ended up doing was trading him to the Minnesota Vikings. And from that point on, now remember, they had made the playoffs 7 straight years. Top 10 offense, 7 straight years. The next 25 years, they've made the playoffs 6 times. They've had a top 10 offense twice. So that whole offseason, the salary cap coming in 94 led to the trading of him, and there goes your franchise.
Their offense hasn't been seen since.
You know what they were ranked last year?
No.
30th.
Who was 29?
Bears? I don't know.
These guys.
That's funny. Wow, I had 1960. I mean, I had to dig deep for this, guy, because we're going to talk about it. This is going to be a recurring thing. The Titans / Oilers, there's not a lot there. But I chose 1960 because that was the year. It was actually their second year in existence as a franchise. They were in the AFL. And they wanted to draft the #1 college recruit in that year, a running back out of LSU named Billy Cannon. Turns out the NFL also wanted Mr. Billy Cannon, specifically the Los Angeles Rams. The Los Angeles Rams general manager was Pete Rozelle. Okay? So you have the NFL and the AFL all want the same player. He was drafted by the Los Angeles Rams. A couple of months later, the Oilers took Billy Cannon and basically designated him as a territorial pick because of the area that he was in. The NFL and the AFL ended up going to court and trying to fight for the rights of this player. The courts sided with the Oilers, saying that the Rams, specifically Pete Rozelle, was taking advantage of Billy Cannon's
Naivete.
naivety?
Naivete.
Naivete. There it is. You got it.
I got it the first time.
I was about to say, I don't think either one of you.
I want to make sure that was the right word.
The court sided with the Oilers. They got Billy Cannon, and as a result of that happening, that made the AFL a legitimate threat to the NFL. 7 years later, the AFL folds. The Oilers become a part of the NFL. And so when you look at the history of the franchise, it's like that moment there, and because the NFL, I think they still have this sort of attitude even now where they feel like they're the only game in town. But because they were able to get the player that they wanted, win in the courts, and as a result of being able to get Billy Cannon, there were other successful college players that elected to go to the AFL, thus making them a real threat and causing the merging of the two leagues that we saw happen in 1970. So for me, it was 1960.
You definitely had to dig for that one.
I had to dig deep. I had to dig deep. Kev, what's your year?
Well, I went a little more recent. I didn't have to dig too deep, given my condition tonight. But I went with 2009, and to me, that is the year that never quite lived up to what the Titans were expected to do, because it's the season after they went 13-3 in 2008. It was that last 10-win season, the last time they won their division, and the last serious chance that this franchise had at seriously contending. That 08 team had 6 Pro Bowlers, and the following year in 09, they started out 0-6 under Kerry Collins, and then Jeff Fisher, who we've already said his name too much tonight, was forced to then start Vince Young again. And now he came back after the bye week and won 5 straight. They won 8 of their last 10, ended up not making the playoffs, but that's the same season that Chris Johnson rushed for over 2,000 yards. And I think that they were supposed to use a success like what Vince Young was able to do the tail end of the season, combined with what Chris Johnson did that record-breaking year to like build another core. Like we talk about the rosters they've had before with, you mentioned Earl Campbell's, the Bum Phillips, the Warren Moons, Ray Childress, Devin mentioned Steve McNair, Javon Curse, Eddie George. Like they had at that time what looked like a core that they could build their team around. And Vince Young ended up getting released the year after. Chris Johnson had a good year the next year, but never quite lived up to that and ended up going elsewhere. And to me, it's like the team and the franchise has been struggling to find that core ever since. And you could just look at their success or lack thereof since then and see why.
Redo, you kind of are in the same theme with what Kevin is talking about, but your year was 2013.
Yeah, it went a little bit more recent, but that was, for me, it's more of what's going to define them going forward, because in 2013, original owner Bud Adams passed away. He was 90 years old. He was he had the rudder from the beginning of their organization all the way through, and they never crossed over to the championship, but they had their shots. They had players, they had groups of players where you thought, okay, there could be some sort of excitement about it. People thought they could win. And he passed away in 2013, and then now all of a sudden there is a ownership miscommunication was the best word I've read about it. Their structure was all messed up. So one daughter was technically the owner, but then the Amy Adams Strunk, who is the main owner now, her husband was running it. And it got so bad that the commissioner, Goodell, had to come in and say, no, we need to refine this structure so there's one owner. So part of the reason
Sound like the Lakers a couple of years ago, huh?
It just wasn't as dramatic because it's in Tennessee.
Right.
So
yet another state that Omar will never be visiting.
I want to go to Nashville. So the organization since then has basically been rudderless. You know, so there's been since 2013 they're on their fourth coach, and you know, as we'll go into on our next segment, we'll talk about.
Well, let's just stay there because it just makes sense. It's you know the thing. I mean, we each were supposed to identify a year, and usually whenever we do these types of things, at least two of us have the same something. But you know, we each had 5 different years. The story you just gave, Omar, it seems like there's a consistent theme here with this organization. It lacks identity. To bring it on home, let me ask a couple of questions here. Kevin, we know that Mike Vrabel is the head coach of the Tennessee Titans this year. Who was their head coach last year?
I know it starts with an M. And it may end with an M. Millard. I don't.
Neither one of those.
I don't know.
Devin, who was Tennessee Titans' first round pick this year? I'll even give you the school, Alabama.
Oh, that would be I don't know.
Junior Blue, who is their all-time sacks leader?
Javon Curse.
Right, good guess. No, Ray Childress. The answer is Ray Childress. The first round draft pick is Rashawn Evans, linebacker out of Alabama. And their coach last year was, I don't even know who the coach was last year. I thought it was Mike Mularkey. But if it's not Mularkey, then
It's not Munchak?
it is Mularkey.
It's Mike Mularkey.
It's Mike Mularkey.
Was Munchak the one before him?
16,
Munchak was before him.
17.
Yeah, Munchak was before him. So, but that's my
Munchak
point.
was before him, but
Yes.
before Malarkey was Ken Wisenhunt.
Oh, shit.
I forgot he existed.
I thought Wisenhunt was before it. But that's the point, though. The
Yeah.
point is that you have an organization that completely lacks identity. So when you talk about, Kevin, about them not having a core, like, go through the history. Talk more about that in terms of and how that like dictates the fact that there's no identity with this franchise at all.
Yeah. I mean, and you can look at any of the other prominent teams in the NFL who you can hang the hat on their identity. I always go back to the Ravens. We haven't been there for long, but you can look at the staple of our franchise from the get-go. John Ogden, Ray Lewis. And it was pretty much Ray Lewis up until the last few years. You look at even the Steelers. They got those old school teams, the Joe Greens,
The steel curtain.
Bradshaws, the steel curtains. And then even now, whether you can criticize their identity, but you know who their guys are.
The Killer Bees.
And now it's with Tennessee, it's just like it. And like I said, it's they had those successful eras. Devin brought up the Steve McNair years, but we knew who they were going to check out on the field and who their guys were that had to perform in order for their franchise to succeed. And right now, outside of Marcus Mariota in the draft pick you mentioned, I couldn't tell you anybody that I know for sure has been there for like 2-3 years.
Well, Derrick Henry's on the roster. He's just not playing. Because he's on my fantasy team giving me shit.
Deion Lewis, leading rusher.
Yeah.
Dev, you talked about the systems also being the lack of being able to, because again, you talk about the greatest show on turf. We know with the Rams, we know that West Coast offense has been a staple of teams like the Green Bay Packers and San Francisco 49ers. With the Titans,
They're all over the fucking place. Because you can go back to the 70s with Earl Campbell and Bum Phillips, and they just ran Earl into the ground until he could not anymore, like literally could not. And then you jump forward to the Eddie George, Steve McNair years where they were run heavy and they had a consistent ground game.
They had the
And that's
run
in
and
the
shoot.
90s. And then you go to the 80s, you got the run and shoot mix in there in the middle. So it's like, what are we doing? So they're just all over the place.
Also,
I know where they went wrong.
What's that?
They stopped starting a black quarterback.
Well, there's that too.
well, it's
93.
it's literally and figuratively where black quarterbacks go to die.
Well, I mean, they also thrive there too. I mean, you look at Warren Moon, you look at
That
Steve
was fucked
McNair.
Oh my god! Tell me I'm wrong.
Even Mike knew that was.
But I mean, you also have Vince Young, and then you have Marcus Mariota, who's not black, but he's a person of some kind of color.
I put him in the same category.
Right. So I mean, like they don't. They're fishing. Like how do you go from
with
ground
him,
and pound
but
and
with
run and
Mariota,
shoot?
what is their approach? Like, what is his, other than him being mobile and being able to, of course, throw the ball? Like, what is their attack with him? What is the approach? If he's even healthy to play,
To get
I
him
couldn't tell you.
concussions as much as they can.
I mean,
He got hurt last week.
Well, I think that was. But to your point, though, I think the previous regime drafted Mariota with a certain system in mind, and then that coach is no longer there. So now you have a guy in Vrabel who inherits this quarterback that he may or may not believe in, and we know that because he goes to Blaine Gabbert every chance that he gets.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's a lack of identity, Junior Blue, and lack of consistency, right?
I mean, literally, this team could be number 2 ranked defense in the league, and the next year ranked 25th. They did the same thing with offense when they were running the run and shoot, and they were second ranked offense. Next year, 28th. Like they really cannot stick with anything. Even under, I mean, you think about Jeff Fisher, Mr. 8-8. He during his time they had top 10 offense. They also had a top 10 defense. It never meshed up at the same time. And the next year, it always flip-flopped. They never had the number 5 offense and the number 10 defense. It always was that off year that they
Really
had.
good offense, really bad defense.
You just look at the running game. You really had for 15 straight years, they had 1,000-yard rushers. I think they missed 1 year of 1,000-yard rushers. In the last 5 years, they've had 1, and they let him go.
Even past the football perspective, like I don't see anything that can get the fans excited. Like you go to Green Bay, the cheeseheads, Minnesota, the purple people eaters, Raiders are the black. Yeah, you know there is what is a Titan? Like there's no like, and they're missing.
And it should be dope too.
And they're missing opportunity because they can like the Saints. You go with New Orleans because New Orleans has a character on its own. They are literally in Nashville, which has almost the same type of character as New Orleans, and they don't even use that.
Yeah.
You know, there's music, there's food, and it's just like, why are they there?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are teams that embody the city that they play in, and I think for them, that's something you got to figure out. 2 things, though, before we move on. 1, Victor Ortiz was arrested for rape charges, and to bring
breaking news,
this conversation even more full circle, Jeff Fisher's first 3 years as the coach in Tennessee Houston organization. First season, 7-9. Second season, 8-8. Third season, 8-8. Fourth season, 8-8. The right one.
Wait, hold up. Did you Victor Ortiz as in like the boxer?
No,
Yes.
I thought you meant the football.
Oh, I thought you meant the football play. Oh no, I'm thinking about Cruz.
Yeah.
Yes,
No, you said
me
Victor
too.
Ortiz.
Yeah, okay. So you just flipped us out, Kev, because we're talking about football. I heard Victor.
You heard Victor.
I went straight to Cruz.
And I went straight to Cruz. But you talking about the boxer, Ortiz?
The boxer.
That doesn't surprise me. Let's get to, speaking of which, get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. Dad?
Yeah, let's try this. Mike, can you turn me down a little bit so I can spit over this? All right. So let's first start this off by saying that we've had some prolific scoring in 3 weeks of football.
Yes, we have.
We have Patrick Mahomes lighting it up. We also have Fitzmagic out here trying to rob somebody else. We have 4 teams.
I see what you did there.
We have 4 teams that have scored over 100 points in 3 games. And there's a 5th team that scored 97, which is the Ravens, in 3 weeks. So how the fuck do the Cowboys only have 41 points?
Say that again.
41 points. And how the fuck do they have it?
Hey, that's a double entendre.
Only 1 team in the NFL has scored less points than them, and that's the Cardinals, and they are fucking trash. And they don't have an identity. They just moved to their new young quarterback. And the Cowboys have a franchise quarterback named Dak Prescott.
He is who he is.
Yeah. That's just what he does.
That's just what he does.
We don't call him Dak anymore.
Yeah. Dakota Rain. I'm sorry. Mr. Dakota Rain hasn't thrown for more than 200 yards in 5 straight games dating back to last year, and hasn't done that in 10 out of his last 13 games. Dallas ranks 30th in yards per game and 31st in scoring. So to me, that sounds like we need to make an overhaul, make a change. Wrong.
Adjustments.
Wrong.
Why are you hitting us with the Chappelle?
That's exactly what I'm going for. So when Coach Jason Garrett says he isn't going to change anything, that means he is about as smart as a dumb motherfucker. Or he knows that his job is secure. So, not a change in tempo, not a OC change, not a, I'm going to take over play calling, not let's get a wide receiver in free agency, not a nothing, right?
Nah, even though they know all of our plays.
So just because Jason Garrett can smile and clap with the best of them does not mean that he needs to be the coach of America's team any longer. And for that, Mr. Jerry Jones, you are delusional for not making the change. So this, although it starts with Jason Garrett, I want to say this to the entire Cowboys front office. Get the fuck out of here with that bullshit.
Hey, but did we or did we not predict this coming? I think it was the first show we did, and we talked about the losers of the offseason. It's Dakota. I mean, they get rid of two of the best security blankets in the NFL and replace it with, as much as I love the kid from Baltimore, Tavon Austin, he's an X factor. He's not a go-to guy. They give him nothing to work with. He comes out and says that reckless shit about the players protesting. This was coming, and he deserves it, and I love seeing him struggle.
And I think when Jason Garrett, what did he say? He said when you said he not making any change because he's safe. I think it's because he said that differently because he doesn't have the power to change. So literally, he's not going to make any changes because he's a figurehead. That's all he's there for is to clap.
I saw
Good job. Good three out.
That mean that he leads the league in claps for when they losing.
Yeah.
That shit is priceless.
All right, let's get to our football tea and hot topics. First, we will start with, that the NFL season has begun when the injuries start to pile up. This will read like a who's who. We've got Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters, and I believe it was just announced today that Mr. Talib is going to undergo surgery for an ankle sprain, which I don't know where they do that at. Typically, that means your ankle is broke.
They doing some scraping.
Muhammad Wilkerson, defensive tackle for the Green Bay Packers, on IR. William Hayes, gone. Evan Ingram will be gone for about a month, tight end for the Giants. Richard Sherman, calf injury, same leg that he popped his Achilles. Also, Jimmy Ward was carted off on Sunday, so their starting corners in San Francisco are gone. Jimmy Garoppolo, starting quarterback, San Francisco 49ers, gone.
$100 million.
You know that it is an NFL season when Sean Lee makes the injury report list. Ricardo Allen, I don't believe Atlanta has anyone else left in their defense or on their defense to get hurt. Ricardo Allen is the last one. And the aforementioned Chris Conti. The question I have for you guys is...
His feelings was hurt. Yeah, he's going to miss several weeks.
He's on IR for hurt feelings. You're right. He really is on IR, though. The question I have for you guys is, which injury is the most devastating and why? Kevin, I'll start with you.
I think it's the Rams corners, because out of everyone that was mentioned, or at least everyone that I could remember that you mentioned, they're the only serious contender. But the upside to that is I think that they're also the deepest team. So, like, if anyone can overcome this for a period of time, depending on how long Talib will be out, I think they can. But neither corner, that's going to be tough, man.
I don't know if they're the deepest team. They're the most talented team, but I don't think they're deep. Their front is, like, their frontline players are ridiculous. But once you get past that,
right,
it starts to get a little
Which
dicey.
is why they can't afford to lose both their starting corners. They can't afford that.
So you're on it, Omar.
Yeah,
That the Rams corners.
I mean, the Garoppolo shit is bad, but I think the Rams corners.
we knew the 49ers weren't going to do shit this year anyway. So.
Well, not all of us. Not the media darling.
The media thought they were making the playoffs.
They had them at. I think Vegas had them at 9 or 10 wins. I feel like.
Yeah.
Are we buying Adam Gase's excuse about William Hayes' injury? For those of you that don't know, William Hayes is defensive end for the Miami Dolphins, and he popped his ACL on Sunday. Adam Gase came out and said that the reason why he popped his ACL was because of the new roughing the passer rule. He was trying to avoid making contact in such a way that would have incurred a foul. Are we buying what Gase is selling?
Well, I'm proud of Gase for being so interesting in his answer, but one of the reasons why we were happy to see him go in Chicago is because he doesn't tell the truth a lot. So I don't buy it at all. That's just something he don't like that rule, and he wanted to use this as a reason to needle the NFL.
Junior Blue, you saw the game.
I saw the game. So I feel like I don't know if he was really trying to avoid it. He might have just used that as an excuse.
Yeah, that's what he did.
But I do feel like that can happen. If you think about tackling somebody and you're going full force to get there. You're fighting a 300-pound man to get by him to tackle somebody, and then once you get to him, you have to spin so you don't land on top of him. I can see how you can pop an ACL
Because it wasn't on
ankle.
the initial contact.
Yeah.
He got him to the ground, and then he did move funny. I mean,
My thing is, you can't blame it on you can't blame the rule because people pop ACLs all the goddamn time.
Not when you're sacking a quarterback though.
But we all know that when you
Somebody
go,
sacked the quarterback, got up, and then tore ACL by doing a dance. Like
Celebrating,
it happened,
jumping,
but it happens. Is
But
what
the
I'm
thing about
saying.
it is when you're doing that, when you're going full force, and now you're telling instead of going straight through, now you got to turn your body at the last second. That can definitely cause a torn ACL.
Yeah, to do something unnatural.
Yeah.
And the old saying goes, if you play not to get hurt,
you're gonna
you get hurt.
okay. Well, speak of playing not to get hurt. How about not playing not to get hurt? We're talking about Mr. Le'Veon Bell and Mr. Earl Thomas. It seems like, fellas, that the players are getting smart now. They're starting to understand the power that they do have. The story of Le'Veon Bell, which we've talked about a few different times. I covered it when I did my preview for the AFC North. Essentially, this man is realizing, I'm going into the final year of my situation with Pittsburgh because we're not going to agree to a deal. So I'm not going to sign the franchise tag, play another full season where they're going to use me up and then let me go into free agency where now it can be used against me that I am used up. Right. So I stay away, most likely staying away till week 11.
Unless.
We're not there yet. Slow up, man.
I stay away till week 11. In which case, I come back at week 11 and I can still be able to go into free agency. So that's one angle. And then you have Mr. Earl Thomas, who was also holding out because he wanted to get paid. But he was like, no. I'm going to show up when the season starts. And it was interesting because when he showed up, everyone was surprised, especially with what Le'Veon was doing. Everyone was surprised that he showed up. And then he showed up with an ominous statement. He said that the disrespect has not been forgotten and will be noted. And we all went, okay.
What's that mean?
And then after week 1, we have week 2. We've got practice, right, Junior Blue?
Talking about practice?
We're talking about practice. And so Tuesday comes for practice, and Mr. Earl Thomas says, nah, not today.
I don't feel like it.
I'm chilling, coach.
And then Wednesday comes and he shows up, and then word got out that Earl Thomas didn't show up for practice, and all Pete Carroll says is, yeah, it wasn't injury related. Then Thursday comes. Earl Thomas, nah, I'm not at practice.
Flip-flops.
I can't practice today, coach. And then after the game on Sunday, a game in which he had 2 interceptions.
2 of them.
He took a bow in front of the Dallas Cowboys bench because that's the team that he wanted.
Come and get me.
He wanted to be traded to. Told them last year, come and get me. They didn't do it. So I picked the ball off 2 times, give you a bow. And then after the game says, listen, they don't want to invest in me, they being the Seattle Seahawks, so I'm going to invest in myself. So if I got a headache, Kevin, I'm not showing up. If my tooth hurts, I'm not showing up. Why? Because I got to look out for me. First question I have for you guys is, as fans of the game, how do you feel about the position that he's taking? Le'Veon, we can understand because he's away, right? He didn't show up. He's not with the team. Earl shows up, but then he's picking and choosing when he comes to work.
He came to work on Sunday, balled out with 2 interceptions. As a fan, that's what you want to see. I don't see practice. As far as I'm concerned, he showed up and did what he had to do. Practice is for the Seahawks.
I actually think
There he goes. There he goes.
I actually think his is more dangerous, what he's doing, because he's
dangerous for the league.
No, well, for the league, but also for Seattle, because
They're lost.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, yeah, for the players versus the league, that's what you're getting at.
yeah, because like Le'Veon, he's gone.
Yeah.
So the locker room he's not there. So this man is showing up to play, but he's not practicing with the team. So like he's eroding the power of the coach in the front office because he's
This is
showing
your type
up,
of shit, huh, Redo?
Yeah, all day. He's showing up with Dick and Tim to talk about I'll be there on Sunday. Like that's the greatest shit ever to me. Like, he might as well have on a smoking jacket with a cigar. Like
And
he
some
is
Timbs.
right. Like Le'Veon is different.
Yeah.
This is disruptive.
Kid?
I love it for many reasons. One, because I ain't a Seahawks fan. They got shit to do with me. And two, I always go back to what my dad told me, is that you can never give anything 110%. You give it 100%, you give it what you want to give it, and then you move on. And for Earl, it's like he's painting a bigger picture. He's looking for a bigger picture, and it's something that we've always been talking that players should do, is take control over your talent, because that's what people pay to see. And no one can pay to see you if you're not healthy, if you're not happy, and ultimately if you're not getting your fair share of this. And I love the fact that players are putting the egg before the chicken here, saying that, okay, you see how valuable I am and what I'm capable of. You pay me, and then I'll show up. But I'm drawing the line. At 4:30, I'm clocking out. I'm going home.
How do you see teams responding to this? If this, you got two frontline players, Le'Veon Bell, Earl Thomas, taking two different positions, but the end is they're trying to get to the same ending. How do you see teams responding to this?
Oh, they're going to start finding folks.
Okay.
I mean, in Le'Veon's situation, he's not coming to work, so he's getting docked.
He's getting docked.
But for Earl, players in that sort of position, they're gonna attack you in the only way they know how.
Monetary.
And that's that they're gonna hit the pockets.
But see, to me, that doesn't seem effective because I can find Earl Thomas, but then Earl Thomas is sending a dangerous message, particularly to a team like the Seahawks with a lot of young. They won't say it. I'll say it for them. They're rebuilding. He's sending a dangerous message, setting a dangerous precedent where fining, that doesn't do it. I want to get rid of those players. I don't want that player in my locker room.
Now, if you give me another name from another team, we can have a different conversation. We're talking about the best safety in the league. So we all know, especially if you let James Harrison tell it, how like the Steelers get down. If you're a certain player, you get treated a certain way. So depending on the organization and the player, that's how they're going to make those decisions. Now, for me, the biggest thing out of this is how certain players are split on how they view this when they ask ex-players. So on Monday night, Booger McFarland went in when they were asking about Le'Veon.
Real name.
I don't know what his real name
Anthony.
is.
It's Anthony.
I'm all
It's Anthony.
He was super adamant about letting Le'Veon do what he needed to do. And then you look at one of the ESPN analyst shows after the game. They were talking. Jeff Saturday was talking about Earl Thomas, and he was the exact same way. Like, let him do that. But you have Tim Hasselback, not even the good Hasselback, and we know who his wife is.
Keep going.
On the other side of that argument,
Literally, keep going.
on the other side of that argument, saying, Earl Thomas has been compensated fairly throughout his career. He needs to show up and play. And then you have players like Jason Witten, who says, yeah, I agree with you, Booger, but he has a contract and he has to show up. So it's like, as players, they should all feel the same type of way.
I agree.
Yes.
They should be a unified front, which is why they've been getting fucked for years.
Yeah.
Because they're not unified, and then they leave people like D. Smith in charge who don't know what the hell they're doing.
Doesn't even know what his name is. Doesn't even know how to have a real name.
Right.
So staying with Le'Veon real quick, it was reported, Adam Schefter, I guess, reported this weekend that the Steelers are now listening to trade offers, which is what you were getting at, Redo, that he might show up prior to because he might be traded to a different team. Give me rapid fire, best fit for Le'Veon Junior Blue.
Green Bay.
Green Bay. Do they have the money?
Yes, they have the money and they have draft picks.
Dad.
I'm going to let Omar answer that question.
Jets. 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 They have more money than Green Bay.
Yeah.
Because Green Bay doesn't have a lot of money. They have money, but they don't have a lot of money. And they probably have some pieces they can give away to get him, plus the draft picks. And they have a young quarterback who could use a safety net like him.
And they're in the biggest market in the country.
Le'Veon Bell, Jets. Le'Veon with the Packers, though. I know you don't want that.
Jets.
Kev?
Hey, I want him out the AFC. I think team we just spoke about, the Seattle Seahawks. They need someone who isn't Russell Wilson to make plays. And if they're not going to pay Earl Thomas, they need to pay somebody.
They took Rashad Penny in the first round, though, which was...
He's not Le'Veon Bell.
No, he's not.
I got a team for you, the Indianapolis Colts. They also have a lot of money. They've got a quarterback that apparently can't throw it past 35 yards.
They also don't have a line.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, Pittsburgh hasn't always had a line either.
You can't do that start and stop shit there. He's gonna be getting smacked as soon as he gets the ball.
That's funny. Yeah, you're looking at me, but it's on you.
on me. Oh, is that time? Oh shit! It's time for our other segment. Oh shit! Mike, we're going to All In with Ken, and once again, we're sponsored by MyBookie. That's MyBookie.com. And if you put down a minimum deposit of $50, they will match your bet 100% up to
that promo
$1,000.
code.
Promo code is 32KR.
Are you ready for the picks?
I'm ready for the picks.
I thought you was going to toss it to me.
Please be ready for the picks.
I looked up and you were sipping. I was like,
Ken, what's your picks?
Thank you, Junior Blue.
hey, I have anything clever for you. I use it all up on Jason Garrett.
All right. Well, let's start with the Funky Monkeys. How about that? The Funky Monkey Game of the Week.
The Funky Monkeys is coming.
Yes, they are. They are coming to Los Angeles because the San Francisco 49ers, without Jimmy Garoppolo, without Richard Sherman, without Jimmy Ward, are going to go against the Los Angeles Chargers. They are definitely going to win. So take the Chargers to win for sure in the Funky Monkey Game of the Week. Do it again.
Oh, we got two.
The Funky Monkeys is coming.
Yeah, the Funky Monkeys is also coming. They're coming to Atlanta and Cincinnati. You know why? Because Atlanta don't have a defense. So the total is 51.5. Take the over. 51.5. Take the over. Atlanta versus Cincinnati. And then finally, we've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against Omar's Chicago Bears. And Omar, congratulations. Your Bears are a favorite. They're favorite -3. Take the Bears to cover. It's a short week for Tampa Bay. Ryan Fitzpatrick is back. Fitzmagic is gone, and Fitzpatrick is back. You know what I'm talking about. You look at that game last night. He was itching to give the interceptions away. 3 sacks for the Pittsburgh defense, who we know they're not known for defense. They had 3 interceptions. There's going to be a lot of turnovers in that game.
We looking at 5.
Khalil Mack, I'm sorry to say this, close your ears, Les, but Khalil Mack is killing the NFL. He is going to have a field day against Fitzpatrick. Take the Bears to cover. So again, that is the Bears to cover -3. That's the over in Atlanta versus Cincinnati at 51.5. And then pick the Chargers to win. Put $100 down. Thank the league ambassadors. We're going 3-0 this week. Once again, that's MyBookie. Please, everyone, go to mybookie.com. The promo code is 32KR. $50 minimum. They will match it 100%. You can put as much as $1,000 down, and they will match that $1,000, make it $2,000. Put these picks down and win you some money. On that note, let's get to our game picks. Kevin, I believe, is the leader.
Glad that's over.
He's the leader by 1 game, but it's early in the season. The first game we have to discuss here is the Thursday night, which is a really good Thursday night game between the undefeated Los Angeles Rams, my team, and the
Tell the truth.
and the Minnesota Vikings at 2-1. Junior Blue, who do you have in that game?
I got the Vikings.
Really?
Yes.
What?
I think after what Buffalo did to them, they're going to show up at home. And the corners is hurt.
You ain't seen
They're going to show up at home?
Rams are home.
Oh, my bad. Well,
Does that change things? Tell the truth.
that probably does change things.
Yeah.
That probably does change
Come on
things.
home.
Yeah, Rams.
The Rams. Okay. Wow, this has been a hell of a show, guys.
Man,
Yeah.
Rams. Shit.
Kev.
Well, the Vikings are who Kenyon thought they were, and I just found out the Rams weren't deep, so I'm going with the Rams. I don't know, the Rams, sure.
Dad.
The Vikings still have that same offensive line, right?
Correct.
Okay, so the 2 corners are out for the Rams?
Yes.
Rams.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm taking the Rams. One of the most interesting games, if you were to listen to the media, because everyone is all up in arms about the New England Patriots. I will say that I definitely call this in our season preview. They're going to win only about 9 games, still going to win the division. They're struggling out the gate 1-2 versus the Miami Dolphins 3-0. And hey guys, Ryan Tannehill in his last 11 starts is 10-1. Adam Gase with Ryan Tannehill is 10-5. Without Tannehill, he's 8-12. Red-O, who you got?
Tannehill is the greatest quarterback in the NFL to this day. I'm taking the Patriots.
Dad.
That was a joke.
Pats, man, come on.
Yeah.
Nobody believes that 3-0.
No one?
Patriots.
Really, Kevin?
We've been waiting for the Patriots to fall off, and they're showing us who they are, and I don't believe it. Patriots.
Yeah, it's a house of cards.
Yeah, I got the Pats as well. They're in trouble, but I don't believe the Dolphins. Grunk's going to have a big game. Philadelphia versus Tennessee. We've been talking about the Titans. They've been featured in this episode. It's actually a pretty good matchup between 2 first-place teams. Philadelphia at 2-1, Tennessee at 2-1.
You ain't believe it when you said
Kev, who you got?
I don't know who's playing quarterback for Tennessee, so I'm going with Philly.
Kevin, that's literally what I have here on my notes. I don't know who the quarterback is. Philadelphia.
Which is actually perfect since we don't know shit about Tennessee.
Full circle. That is full circle.
How did that happen?
Is it Philadelphia, Dad?
hell yeah.
Yeah, it's unanimous.
Philly.
Wow, Philly, unanimous. I think we were unanimous on all
We
three of these
almost were.
games.
We almost
yeah.
were.
Yeah.
The
Let's-
funky monkey really came in.
Yeah, that motherfucker.
All right.
came.
Well, before we get out of here, let's just check in on our teams seriously. First of all, big game Sunday night. You talked about it, Dev.
Yes,
Kevin,
sir.
what's the key to the game?
The key to the game is eating up the middle of the field on the Steelers, using our tight ends, getting our run game going. And if Joe comes up to the line and doesn't look to see where Artie Burns is and throw it and point to the motherfucker and throw it, then we're going to lose.
Kev?
I agree with Dev. We're going to score 30, 38 points. I mean, we did it with no offense last year. We have to either get a stop in the last minute or get a first down in the last minute of the game to seal it. I think we beat them, finally.
Omar can't wait for this. Omar, man. How does it feel to be in first place? 2-1 Bears.
Man, I couldn't tell you the last time we were.
That's real.
Yeah. Look, it's been a long
It's been a
time.
long
Like, I don't even know how
time.
to act right now. But the key to this game is turning Fitz
No,
magic.
I don't want to know what the key to the game is.
It's tragic.
We've already discussed that.
Exactly.
Chicago's going to cover. What do you think about Trubisky? Speaking of whistling,
he need to be developed.
hey, speaking of whistling, Junior Blue, he already told us at the beginning how he felt.
Adjustments. The first half, we most likely will come out and have the lead.
Y'all be 3-0 in the first half.
Second half,
Y'all killing that first half.
killing the first half. Second half, we will need to make some sort of adjustments, and we need to find a pass rush somewhere.
Somewhere.
He's in Chicago.
I wonder where.
Where they do that at?
I don't know, but it's hard to find one.
So, Ken, what about the Chargers and the Rams?
There we go, Dad. Okay, so here we go. Chargers. On a serious note, we miss Joey Bosa. We do.
Yes.
Gus Bradley's defense is predicated on getting some
he
sort
come
of a pass. They're talking like
don't know.
October. They don't know.
Shit.
Some sort of a pass rush. And Melvin Ingram, Joey Bosa, that's how it happens. They're scheming up Melvin Ingram. We're not getting pressure on the quarterback. I like Derwin James, but, can't do anything. And it's making me nervous now because Kansas City, I mean, Andy Reid does get off to good starts
Yes, he
and
does.
usually comes back to earth. I think there's something different, though, about Patrick Mahomes besides his voice.
He sounds like this when he talks.
And the Rams, the Rams won the NFC West. The NFC West is
It's over.
It's a wrap.
Week
Okay.
3.
So on that note, let's take shots here. Gentlemen, this has been another episode. This is actually
50.
our 50th episode of 32 Kings Road. Let's do 50 more. Once again, follow us everywhere on social media. Our handle is @TheLeagueAM. Check out our website, theleagueam.com, where you can see previous episodes of our show, 32 Kings Road, as well as our off-season show, Confirmation Bias. Also, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, League Ambassadors. We will see you next week. Cheerio.
You won Bears.
London in 2 weeks.
7 names, no games as I run
And
it down
Nike
the
don't
line.
care about black
We got Kenny Ken put 100 on the T's with the streak for the cash. ESPN. Seth Curry with the shot. In reality, he's more like Seth, but he's all we got. Up next is Gentleman Jack, better known as Junior Blue. We told him not to do it anyway, but he did what he do. To his right is Devin, that dude, L Dad or Dirt Ass Dan. Just don't ask him a question, cause then he'll answer your question with another question, and then he'll add another question on top of that question. Damn. And I'm Red O, the Buck Wild Problem Child.
Flow butter, aka John Cutter.
It's the League Ambassadors, and we playing to win at the 2-yard line. And make no mistake, we running it in.